Bricoler Winery. So every now and then as a welder slash metal artist, you come across your dream job, and it will never get any better than this right here. The owners are absolutely fantastic. They love metal. That's another plus. They put lots and lots of their hard-earned money into this project. This is where we started. We started this in November of 2017. We started with these gates right here. Pretty much put the trellis up over the top. All this was so what we could make, we made and hauled over, and what we, and then everything had to be assembled in the field here. Lots of work with a forklift and a grate awl. You can still see they're still missing a few lights. You can see that piece of conduit sticking up. Anyway, this is my dream job. It put my kids through college. It fed me very well. It's still feeding me very well because they still have projects every now and then that I get to do. Absolutely love these people, love this place, heavily vested in it. It's me. And if you want to see some of my work, I encourage everyone to go to Windsor, California, in the heart of the Russian River wine country, and check out Bricoler Winery. So this is all the brainchild of one Robert Garcia, Iron Horse Fabrication out of Dixon, California. My buddy who helped me on this job, he did all the CNC, all the schematics, and I just helped him put it up. But this is a swing set. There's another one across the pond over there. They're asking for a third one, so we'll throw that on the project list. All right, trash can holders. So kind of a neat deal. There's trash can holders all over this property. I think there's 30 of them. We had these leaves cut. So all we did was weld them to the bottom plate there. We put an extra ring inside. Right size for the right trash can. They're kind of cool. They're pretty neat. This one's got some leaves on it, but anyway, they're all over the property. But the bottom line is we had a bunch of extra leaves. So what do you do with something extra? That's the beauty of metal. You don't throw it away. So this is kind of what I came up with. The art piece that almost killed us. Not really, but anyway, I thought they would make just awesome flower petals. So they had these old, this is a thing that they bought, those steel pots. They were going to put trees in them and try to make them mobile and everything else. And anyway, I talked them into using them for this. So you can see there's a little bend in that one. You don't want artwork to look perfectly uniform. You want it to look like it's kind of been, like nature's not perfectly uniform. So one of the keys to a good piece of art is to, don't make a flower, perfect. Put a bunch of imperfections in it and it'll look more like art. But those are the trash can holders right there. So they had one more pot. They were looking for suggestions. I said, let me make a palm tree. So there is a whole bunch of, I think that's 1.5 inch flat bar. There's miles of it. I had it left over from another job. So that's what, we're always constantly using something up. I just used the plasma cutter to make those leaves. I'm actually going to come back and add about 10 more palm fronds to this. It's just not enough. It needs a few more. So that's the next, that'll be sometime this winter. I'll come and do that and add to this thing. Make a couple really big ones out of the top, make it kind of more upright, but I'll give you a good view of it right there. Whoa! All right. For all you antiquers out there, simple bucket line works out really good to hold plants and other knickknacks. So we made the brackets to hold it up top there, and then they had found those, and basically a lot of this job is just, hey Martin, this is what I have, how do we make this work? So it's kind of a collaboration. I'm definitely not the brains behind the objects, but I'm able to find something and adapt it so it works. All right, Bricoler Winery. So this is an old, some type of a hay hook, and the clients found it and asked me what in the world they could do to it, because they wanted to make some type of table stand. So I welded some 3/4 by 1.5 inch box tubing around the bottom to make it to give it some type of stability, and then I welded that top piece on, and then they called the glass guy, and he came in and worked his magic, and instant table from a barn find, essentially. Kind of cool. All right, same thing with this. This is a window box. This I did a little research on. It turns out it's about 200 years old, all hand forged, and then I tried to figure out how to make the same type of a table stand for this. So I used kind of the same box tubing frame, tack welded it on, and they had their glass guy come out, and this is table number 2 inside this beautiful barn. I'll show you this barn. So this is Bricoler Winery. None of the lights are on right now. It's the one day of the week they're closed. Anyway, we made brackets, all those templates up there. You can see lots of hardware, lots of kind of cool designs. Chandeliers they found, they're on a pulley system. They actually drop down. I had nothing to do with that. They also roll up there, so they'll roll back and forth. Pretty cool. This place is absolutely stunning at nighttime. So this is nice. Yep. We got a little nature call over there. I believe that is one of the swans. Built the swan pen also. Had to add a little roofing to the swan pen. Anyway, that dude looks like he's pretty tough. This railing, all right, this is no climb. 2x2 wire mesh, welded. I told you you'd see this stuff again. That was on the bottom of that table. Anyway, we did this in sections. Had plates in the ground, or basically sleeves in the ground, that we could slide this stuff into, and then welded it on. It's put together with torque screws. You can see those torque screws right there. Powder coated by American Powder Coating in West Sacramento. This actually extends out over the pond, so there's lots of steel underneath here. But anyway, in order to be code, it's got to be over 48 inches tall, and a no climb wire. That's what that pattern is, and that's actually cheaper than doing it with pickets. So nice looking fence too when it's all said and done. All right, so the arches, I'll give you a really good look at those. There is, on this piece of property here, you'll see all these arches. There's 1,000,000 8¼ inch block pieces. So those are all the 8¼ right there. So we originally had an order for 36 of these arches. Okay, and we were able to build them in my buddy's shop and put them on a trailer and haul 10 or so over at a time. And this is the original design with a, about a 5-foot column, bolted to the column, brought up, set down, and then we had different sections, we called it. So those are the legs. We called these cross members. I forget what we came up with a name for, but there's one of those. So the arches went in, then these legs went in, or the arches went in with the legs, and then these cross members went in, and then we put the pickets. You can see those pickets on top. So eventually this is going to be covered with this vine right here. But until then, they didn't like the heat, so they went with this nice little sail system to give it a little bit of shade. And plus with COVID, they had to do all their dining outside. So that's another reason for this. But anyway, I'll show you a little bit later how we had to modify all these arches. All right, conference table. So we found the wood, paid a pretty penny for it. And then I made these stands right here. And the beauty of this conference table, you can see that split. Okay, so underneath it, we made it so it clasps together. So it works as a conference table. However, it also works, if you separate those two, you can get one nice long serving table. So this is just stamped rolled metal right here. You're going to see it other places on the property. But one of the unique things about this is they can split it apart, put it against the wall, and have a really nice, buffet type serving area with it. So this is just 12 gauge metal. We made the boxes, welded the seams so it gives it that nice sharp edge, sanded it. Originally they were going to paint it, and then they said, we like the look of it, so just threw a clear coat on there. That's all that is right there. But really neat table stand. All right, this is the last table stand I want to show you guys. So I did as much research as possible on this piece. I believe it came from the William Randolph Hearst collection. Anything square is my work. And you can see how I tried to reinforce this underneath. But basically, all these pieces here were spiked. There was a real sharp end. Most were broken off. But anyway, this was a window grate from around the 1500s. And it mounted on the, I'm not sure how it mounted. It's all punched. Some fantastic forging. It was missing a couple of those little rosettes, right in here. We made a few with the plasma cutter. If you could find out which ones they are, you can point them out, but I even can't find them now. But anyway, they're hand punched rosettes. We basically just made the frame underneath and to hold up the glass, and it's a really cool piece. Like I say, this is 600 years old, most of this metal right here, so fun to work on. These are original. These, I believe this one here I made, that one over there is original on that side, so I just tried to copy it and make it look as old as I possibly could. But same 1.25 by 3/4 box tubing, kind of kept that theme going. So much fun to work on. All right, so at this point, this is just regular fencing. It's the same principle. It's got to be over 48 inches tall, 2-2, no climb, no big opening bigger than 2 inches. So we kind of got fancy. They wanted this rolled, so we rolled these pieces top and bottom, put the wire in. All this was fabricated. All the smaller pieces were all fabricated here on site. These bigger sections were all fabricated in the shop, and we just brought them over here and just started unloading them. We pretty much had to follow the concrete line, so there's a little bit of an angle on this, and then we were straight here, and then we wanted to kind of keep that same theme, so we rolled all these pieces here. So it's actually a lot of fun. In order to keep it to code, we need a child-proof lock. So that's going to lift up if the key's on. So anyway, pretty slick. These are the Dmd hinges. They are spring hinges, so this thing closes on its own. Fun little project here. It's been hit a couple times. I've had to come in and cut out a section and patch it. Anyway, the nice thing about the 2-2, any of the wire mesh that we use, it goes away when you start looking at it. I mean, you can see that one over there from that view. It's really easy to see through. You really notice it when you first put it in, but you know, if you're a homeowner or whatever and you want to go with some type of a look like this, now the beauty of it is once you get used to it, I mean, you don't even see it. So, fun job. All right, the planter boxes. These were all made in the shop, brought here, stacked, and then set down, and they grow most of what they eat here. So all these greens and everything, this is constantly some type of rotation, and then it kind of works its way down into the rose garden, and this is kind of like a labyrinth. So all these were cut at a 45 and then had to be welded here in the field. Just kind of kept the same theme. It's just a nice way to make raised beds. They're a little tight if you want to walk through there. They might need to prune their roses a little bit. And then the one that goes around the fountain. But all these had to be laid out and hauled over and figured out, okay, this one goes here, this one goes there. So there's lots of numbers. And I weld the numbers on the pieces. Because if you write it or try to scribe it or anything like that, you know, that doesn't work. Something's going to get wiped out, but it's just welded on. You know, I write, you know, 1A, 1B, really simple to do with a MIG welder, and you just go from there. But really kind of a neat little feature here. They get a lot of pictures in this area. All right, the Bocce Trellis, same arches, but now we've got a 10-foot leg. So the funny story about the 10-foot legs is that, so we had all these 4-foot legs on here, attached, welded. All right, and if you know anything about welding, the bottom line is that it's hard. Change orders are hard because once you cut the 4-foot leg off, then the metal's got so much heat and it's already rolled metal anyway that it wants to spring. So what happened here was the initial plan was to have them all look like the ones up top with nice cinder block columns up to 5 feet, then a 4-foot leg on top. Well, the mason, bottom line was the mason was having a difficult time keeping up. So what we ended up doing is, I got my kid some really good piecework, is he made all these 10-foot legs. And then we were paid to cut the old ones off, weld the new ones on. But all this had to be done in the field because you can't haul a 10-foot leg, a 24-foot arch, and another 10-foot leg. It's just no way to get this on a trailer legally anyway. Bottom line was they all had to be manufactured here. And then what we had all these 4-foot legs left over that we had already cut off. So we kind of incorporated it into the like the benching area. So there's a metal frame underneath all this that we built to tie these benches in. And then keeping in the tradition of they like rust, we had a nice order for all these tables. This is just, I think this is just 14 gauge on top of a frame with a nice hard edge box underneath. Same principle. Had all this metal and had to weld all, you know, that entire seam. It gives it that nice round, square look. They don't want the round look, but we've got, I think there's like 14 tables on property. So this was a fun job here. So this is where we started with all these arches. As we did this top section, there's 3 sections of 5 arches. This initially had those 4-foot legs on them. Put those truss members underneath, and then came back when it was all said and done. And you talk about a lot of string up top there, because everything had to be, you know, follow a string line, chalked up above there. A good rolling scaffold was the best tool we had on this job, along with the welder. And then we came back and basically put all those pickets up on top. So the way the math worked, they're like 17 inches apart or something like that. And hopefully in another year, that grapevine is going to take over. And this will be a beautiful entryway. And then you could see arch number 2 and arch number 3. And then, like I said, what do you do with a bunch of 4-foot legs? You make light boxes out of them. So that's, I still have like 3 or 4 of them left in my shop. But, and then the benches, the stands for the benches. It's kind of nice to reincorporate it all. So this piece right here, you ought to see these in, I think these things bloom in like March or April. And it's just a sea of white. It's absolutely spectacular. So these are the 3 arch sections. But right over there where those lawn chairs are, that's where my trailer was. That's where we built all this stuff. Picked these pieces up with a forklift after the legs were welded onto them. Drove over here, set them in place on those concrete columns. Those are tightened, screwed down, plus there's other bolts that are epoxied in. And that's the process. A lot of fun. Handrail. All at the right slope. Lots of measuring, lots of welding, lots of cleaning. These are all torque screwed together, you know, the tabs. The interesting thing about this is we didn't have the ability to come in and put something in the ground, you know, that we could sleeve these things into. So I'll show you what the outside of this looks like. But they're also based, you know, a lot of times on the size of the oven for the powder coating. And this has been here 4 years now. Pretty decent job on the powder coating. You can see there's a couple of little spots of rust. I'll come back at some point and rattle can this. But this is what they call the pavilion. And you can see how beautiful this building is. The rock work alone is just, you know, how they built all this, you know, it's just absolutely amazing. This is one of their main tasting areas. You know, there's a false ceiling there. There's a little room in between. You can climb up there and, you know, change out the speakers and that type of thing. But absolutely stunning. This area is also supposed to be for weddings. Right there would be where the bride and groom would stand. The important people would be in the shade. The relatives, like the crazy uncle that I am, would be out back here someplace. All right, how to attach a railing to an outside wall. I want to show you this bracket right here. So this was welded on, and it stands, you know, just, we call them just C brackets. We made all these. One of the ironies, this railing had to go up and then come down and then get stored and then go back up again. But all these C brackets hold up that 2.5-inch box tubing. And then we got the hammered bar and the hammered rails. Pretty ingenious. This was all a creation of my buddy Robert Garcia. Like I say, you need to be a little bit of a MacGyver to be good at this business. He's MacGyver on steroids. So something I couldn't have come up with. But, you know, the nice thing about these is they're all off the ground. You know, that railing's not touching that stone whatsoever. So this was backfilled, of course, after we got the thing in. But pretty ingenious little system, and I mean, just bulletproof, rock solid. I don't know if you can see me, but I'm shaking the bejeebers out of that, or trying to, and that dude ain't moving. All right, one of my passions. Anyway, old Chevy pickup truck. This thing was actually used. But what we had to do was put some type of rack on there. This is that, I think it's called thermery. That it's kiln dried ash wood that is baked in a big giant kiln. Came in here, put the pockets in, had to try to straighten this rail. I don't know how many times a forklift had hit it in the past, but anyway, tried to make it work. So, you know, these nice little clasps right here make it so these things do come out. They still, they said they were going to use it for to haul some grapes, but this was a good indoor project. Had it under cover. Spent a few days on it. The main thing I wanted to show you was that thermery. So anytime you're attaching wood to metal, a lot of it has to do with you know, you want something that's kiln dried, and this stuff makes a beautiful deck. We use it on all the benches here. Torque screwed it in where we had to, but you know, just use regular bolts and nylon lock nuts on the rest of it. The beauty of this is I don't have to come back in a couple months and tighten all those bolts as that wood dries. So it's pricey. It's probably about $5 a foot, but it's absolutely beautiful, and it's gonna keep this color, and bugs will not eat it because they bake the sugar out of it. So it'll be there a long time. All right, nice little trellis, steel trellis we made to screw these the big 4x4s, all Western red cedar 4x4s. This is in their little guest cottage. So this railing, it's all rolled right there. Fun, lots of different letters, lots of measurements. And then, of course, it's all to code. So you always need a handrail aside. You're not just allowed to grab this part right here. Don't ask me why. But anyway, comes down. Everything was slipped together. You can see the brake right there. Torque screws underneath. Welded together nicely. All right, last but not least, one more little section of handrail. We built this really fancy fencing, and I'll show you what a vine can do to it in about a year and a half. So anyway, there's really nice metalwork underneath this. I don't know if you can see it poking through. So just a really neat, it's all it is a, you know, something for plants to grow on, but it wraps all the way around that wall there. So I wanted to show you this last little section of fencing, and the unique thing about this is that hopefully someday this is coming out, and the main winery is going to be in this spot over here. So you could see how these are attached. So they're attached so they will come off, and eventually they'll have a ramp going down one side. Something you could drive a forklift on, and this would then be extended out and fit into that other side of it. So that's all mobile. We also had to make these backers for this wood right here. This, you know, in order to bring it to code, there's no gap bigger than 4 inches on this area. My son and I don't know if you can see how we made those brackets. We powder coated all the brackets, had all those welded in, came back and attached all that lumber to it, and really came out nice. Initially they wanted just something short, and I said, well, what happens if somebody stands on this thing and takes a header over the edge there? It's about an 8-foot drop, so they brought it up to code. You know, you're never perfect as far as safety goes. Someone could still climb up that thing and take a leap if they really wanted to. That's why our insurance rates are so high. Pizza oven. They needed to move this thing around. I don't know what it weighs, but it's a ton. So welded on some spots so the forklift can grab it from either side. They pick this thing up, they bring it all over the property. Same with the wood rack. The wood rack is just really simple. For the pizza oven there, it's leftover metal from this project. So everything here was left over. In fact, this wire here, you can see how it's broken. That was a chunk of that rusted 2x2 fence that somebody backed into. So kind of more or less as a joke, I saved it and built this wood rack out of it. And it's, you know, it works out great for their pizza oven. All right, handrail. I personally do not like handrail. It is way too much work. It's hard to get to connect. It's hard to core drill all this. You can see the mason still has to come and fill that up. It might be me that's doing it, but anyway, anytime you've got a slope and stairs, you need something for the people to grab a hold of. And that's what that is right there. Very expensive, very much a pain. All right. This is essentially required now, this fencing. So we did this fence here at Bricoler. We wrapped it around their water supply. You are not allowed to have a public place. You can't have any access to the pump house or the water, because essentially somebody figured out that some wacko might try to poison the well. So it has to be 7 foot. This is 4x4 concrete wire with a 2x2 frame. It's actually really simple fencing to put up. It goes really quick. We could put about, 80 or 90, two guys could put 80 or 90 feet of this in a day. Those are the hinges we use. Those are adjustable. They're the Dmd Hinges. Anyway, it's all got to be locked up nice and tight. If you see that over there, I'll try to focus in on that little dude. We're right by the Charles Schultz Airport in Sonoma County, California. So that's actually the well. So that roof comes off so they could still service the well, but that had to be all protected also, so somebody can't get in there. And I took a little liberty and put Snoopy and Woodstock on top of it because it kind of looked like a dog house. And since we're so near the Charles Schultz Airport, please don't sue me.